The invitation arrived on black parchment, sealed with silver wax that burned cold against Iris's fingertips. She should have thrown it into the fire the moment she recognized the emblem, a raven's head crowned in thorns. But curiosity made her break the seal. You are summoned to bear witness. No signature, just an address she knew too well. The Raven Crest Estate, perched on the cliff overlooking the valley where she'd grown up, where she'd loved, where she'd been destroyed. Iris crumpled the paper, hands shaking. 4 years. 4 years since she'd fled this town, since she'd packed everything that mattered and driven until the mountains became plains, until she could breathe without tasting pine and blood. 4 years since Damon Ravencrest had chosen another. And now he dared summon her back. You're not actually going. Her roommate stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Tell me you're not that stupid. I have to. You don't have to do anything for him. He never owned me, Iris wanted to say, but that would be a lie. For 3 years Damon Ravencrest had owned every piece of her time, her body, her foolish heart, until the night he'd stood before his family and declared another woman his mate. It's not about him, Iris said quietly. It's about me. I need to see it with my own eyes so I can finally let it go. The drive took 7 hours. 7 hours of her stomach twisting tighter with each familiar landmark. By the time she reached Ravencrest proper, dusk had painted the sky in bruised purple and dying gold. The Ravencrest mansion rose from the cliffside like something from a Gothic nightmare. All sharp angles and blackened stone, surrounded by ancient pines that seemed to lean in, listening. Cars lined the driveway. The pack had come out in force for her replacement's coronation. Iris parked at the far edge and sat for a moment, hands gripping the steering wheel. Good, she thought bitterly, looking at her tired reflection. Let him see what he did. The great hall blazed with candlelight and ceremony. Iris slipped in through the side entrance, keeping to shadows along the back wall. All eyes faced forward toward the dais where Damon Ravencrest stood beside a woman who could have been carved from marble. His Luna. Victoria Northwood, daughter of the most powerful pack in the Northern Territories. Beautiful, poised, everything Iris, a human raised on the edges of pack territory, could never be. Damon looked exactly as she remembered. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair that curled at his collar, and eyes the color of winter storms. An elder stepped forward, carrying a crown woven from silver and bone. This is it, Iris thought. Watch him crown her. Then leave. Finally. Leave. But as the crown lowered toward Victoria's head, something happened. The temperature dropped, not gradually but all at once. Candles flickered and guttered. The crown twisted in the elder's hands, bucking like a living thing. It clattered to the floor, rolling across polished wood, and stopped directly at Iris's feet. Every head turned. Every eye found her. Damon's gaze locked onto hers, and the shock that crossed his face was almost worth the humiliation. What is the meaning of this? The elder's voice cracked, because the crown, the ancient sacred symbol, had begun to glow. Soft silver light pulsed from bone and metal, growing brighter, and the carved throne behind Damon groaned. Stone scraped against stone. The massive chair shuddered, then shifted 6 inches to the side, angling toward Iris as if drawn by invisible strings. The silence was absolute. What witchcraft is this? Victoria's composure cracked, but Damon didn't speak. He just stared at Iris with an expression she couldn't name. And in that moment, standing with a crown at her feet and a throne bowing in her direction, Iris realized coming here had been a terrible mistake. "Remove her!" Victoria's voice cut through stunned silence. But when 2 enforcers moved toward Iris, Damon's hand shot up. "Stop!" His gaze never left her face. "The throne has spoken." The elder's voice trembled. "The seat of ancients acknowledges her." "That's impossible." Victoria's features twisted. She's human. She has no claim. The throne does not recognize humanity or its absence, the elder interrupted. It recognizes fate. The word hung like smoke. I don't want this, Iris found her voice. I shouldn't be here. She turned toward the door, but Damon moved faster than should have been possible. One moment on the dais, the next blocking the exit. Don't! His voice dropped low. Don't run! Not again. You don't get to ask that of me, she said. Not after... I know. Something raw flickered across his face. But we need to talk. Away from here. There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice 4 years ago. Did I? The question sounded bitter. Or did someone make it for me? Before Iris could process those words, Victoria's heels clicked sharply. Damon, we have a ceremony to complete. He didn't turn. The ceremony is postponed. You can't be serious. I am your alpha, he said in a tone that made pack members bare throats instinctively. And I'm telling you, we're done for tonight. Victoria's face went white with fury. Damon's attention returned to Iris. Please, one conversation. Then if you want to leave, I won't stop you. Iris should have refused, should have shoved past him and driven until dawn. But that word, fate, echoed in her skull. Fine, she whispered. One conversation. Damon led her through corridors she remembered too well, past the library where they'd spent winter evenings, past the conservatory where he'd first kissed her. Every step felt like walking through a museum of her own heartbreak. He stopped at a door she didn't recognize, a study she'd never seen. You weren't supposed to come tonight, he said finally. I sent no summons. Someone else wanted you here. Her skin prickled. Why? I don't know yet. But that crown... He moved to the window. It's older than this pack. The legends say it chooses the true Luna, the one bonded to the Alpha by fate itself. You're already bonded, she said, to Victoria. You chose her. I was ordered to choose her. The admission came out rough. By the Council of Alphas, a political alliance to prevent war between territories. Her breath caught. You never told me. Because I thought I could fight it. He turned to face her, anguish in his expression. I thought if I built my power strong enough, I could refuse them. Choose you. He paused. But they gave me an ultimatum. Wed Victoria, or watch your town burn. They knew you were my weakness. They threatened every human settlement in my territory if I didn't comply. The floor tilted. What? They threatened your grandmother, Damon said quietly. The woman who raised you. I couldn't... His voice cracked. I thought you'd be safer if you hated me. If you left and never looked back. Before she could respond, a howl split the night. Long, mournful, too close. Then another. And another. Damon's body went rigid. No, not tonight. What? But he was already running toward the danger, leaving Iris alone with questions burning and the ghost of his confession echoing. Outside, the howling grew louder, and beneath her breastbone, in a place she'd thought long dead, something ancient stirred awake. Iris didn't stay put. She followed the path Damon had taken. The front doors stood open. The manicured lawn had become a battlefield, bodies moving in darkness, some human-shaped, others caught mid-transformation. And in the center, Damon fought. She'd never seen him like this. 4 years ago, he'd kept this part carefully hidden, as if his wolf was something shameful. But now, watching him move with inhuman speed and savage grace, she understood what she'd been protected from. Not his violence, his power. He was magnificent and terrifying. Stay back! Marcus, Damon's second, blocked her path. Blood streaked his torn shirt. A wolf burst from the tree line, heading straight for them. Iris's hand closed around a fallen branch. Ridiculous, useless. But before she could lift it, Something erupted from her chest. Not pain. Power. The wolf yelped and skidded to a halt 6 feet away, whining. Its ears flattened. And then it bowed, head to ground, throat exposed in perfect submission. What the hell? Marcus stared at her like she'd sprouted wings. She felt it thrumming beneath her skin, a presence that wasn't hers. Ancient and vast. It pressed outward, and every wolf on the lawn felt it. One by one, the attackers broke off and retreated. Even Damon had stopped fighting, his transformed face turned toward her with an expression caught between awe and grief. The power receded, leaving Iris gasping. Marcus caught her before she hit the ground. "Get her inside!" Damon's voice came out rough, still half growl. "Now!" They brought her to the study. Damon paced like a caged animal while the elder, Aldrich, examined her with 2 keen eyes. "Remarkable," Aldrich murmured. "I've not seen this in 70 years. "Seen what?" Iris demanded. "What's happening to me?" "You bear a Luna's mark." He gestured to her collarbone, where her scar lay, the scar she'd gotten in a car accident at 17. "How did you come by this?" "A wreck. Broken glass." She touched it self-consciously. "What does that have to do with—" "Show me exactly where you crashed." Something in his tone made her heart stutter. "Why?" "Please, Iris." Damon had stopped pacing. His eyes were human again, but haunted. "This is important," she swallowed. "Coldwater Bridge, 8 years ago." Aldrich and Damon exchanged a look that made her stomach drop. "That's impossible," Damon said softly. "I was there that night." The world tilted. "What?" "There was an attack. Rogues targeting pack boarders." His voice went flat. "We were hunting them, and one broke through our line, ran onto the bridge just as—" He stopped, face going pale. "There was a car." Iris's hand went to her scar. She remembered the crash, the terror. But there were gaps in her memory. Black spaces she'd attributed to trauma. "I pulled the rogue off before it could break through your window," Damon continued. "But we went over the side. I never saw you. You were unconscious by the time I climbed back up. I made sure you were breathing. That help was coming. And then I left. Humans couldn't know." "But when I tried to heal the cut on your neck," he said, voice rough, "the mark wouldn't fade." "Because you'd already bonded her," Aldrich finished quietly. "The moment you touched her blood with intention, the moment you chose to save her over pursuing your enemy, you created a soul tie." The room spun. "That's not possible. I'm human." "Humanity is irrelevant to a true bond." Aldrich's face was grave. "The throne recognized what you are, Damon's fated mate, bound to him 8 years ago by blood and choice." Iris looked at Damon, at the raw anguish written across his features. He'd known, maybe not consciously, but some part of him had known from the beginning that what they had was more than human love. "The rogues," she whispered. "They came because of me." "They came because someone told them what you are," Damon said grimly. "Someone who wants to prevent your recognition as Luna." Outside, another howl rose, closer this time, filled with promise. This was only the beginning. 3 days later, Damon's decision was immediate. Iris would stay at the estate under guard until they identified who'd sent the rogues. "Absolutely not. This isn't a debate." He moved to the window. "Someone orchestrated tonight. The invitation, the Crown's reaction, the attack. It's all connected. Then I'll go back to the city. And lead them straight to innocent humans." His voice sharpened. "You felt what happened. That power. Every wolf within a mile radius felt you awaken. There's no hiding anymore." She wanted to argue, but the memory of that presence rising through her chest made words die. "1 week," she heard herself say. "I'll give you 1 week to figure out who's behind this. Then I'm gone. Bond or no bond." Relief flickered across Damon's face, followed by pain. As if he knew a week wouldn't be enough. The guest wing was luxurious, in an understated way, dark woods, soft fabrics. Someone had lit a fire, and her bag sat on the bed. She should have felt like a prisoner. Instead, she felt like a ghost haunting her own past. A knock made her tense. "Come in." Not Damon. Marcus entered, carrying food. He set it down and lingered, clearly uncomfortable. "Spit it out," Iris said tiredly. "He never stopped looking for you." The words rushed out. "After you left, he hired investigators, scoured every city, drove himself half-mad until Aldrich told him tracking you would only put you in more danger." Her chest tightened. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you need to know. However much it hurt, he's been dying slowly ever since." Marcus's jaw tightened. A bonded alpha separated from his mate doesn't just move on. We age wrong, get violent. Some go rogue. He's been close to breaking since the night you left. After Marcus left, Iris stood at the window staring at the forest. Somewhere in those trees, rogues circled. And somewhere in this house, Damon probably stood at his own window, maintaining the distance she'd demanded. The bond hummed beneath her skin, a constant awareness of exactly where he was. She pressed her palm against cold glass and tried not to think about how much she wanted to close that distance. Sleep brought dreams. She stood in a forest glade bathed in silver moonlight. A massive black wolf watched from shadows, its eyes the exact gray of winter storms. She knew those eyes. "You shouldn't be here," his voice said without words. "Where is here?" "The bond space, where mates meet when the physical world isn't safe." The wolf moved closer. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pull you in." "You were checking on me," she finished. He didn't deny it. In this place, lying seemed impossible. "I missed you," he admitted. "Every day. Missing you was like missing my own heartbeat." Tears burned her cheeks. "You could have told me the truth. Could have let me choose. To die for me." The wolf's form shimmered. Suddenly, Damon stood before her in human form. "That's what would have happened. The council would have made an example of you. I couldn't..." His voice broke. "I couldn't watch you burn." She understood then. There had been no good choices that night. Only terrible ones. "I hate you for it," she whispered. "I know." He lifted his hand, fingers hovering near her face. "I hate myself for it too." The dream shattered as a howl ripped through the night, real this time. Iris jolted awake to find her room ice cold despite the fire. Carved into the frost on her window, drawn by a claw from outside. 7 days. Damon reached her room before she could scream. The door burst open and he was there. Barefoot, shirtless, eyes flashing gold. He took in the frosted window with a single glance, then moved to stand between her and the glass. "How close?" Marcus appeared in the doorway. Close enough to mark the window without triggering perimeter wards. Damon's voice was controlled, but she could see barely leashed violence. "Which means we have a traitor." "Then what do you suggest?" "We set a trap." Damon finally turned, gaze finding hers. "But first she needs protection beyond guards and wards." Her skin prickled. "What kind?" "A blood ward tied to me." He moved closer. "It would let me feel if you're in danger. Let me reach you instantly through the bond space. So I'd never be alone in my own head again. You'd be able to shield your thoughts. I'd teach you how." He ran a hand through disheveled hair, a gesture of frustration she remembered. "I know what I'm asking, but that message, 7 days, someone's given you a deadline." "There's another option," Marcus said. "We could move her to the safe house." "No." The word came from Iris. She stared at the frosted warning. "I'm done running. If this bond makes me a Luna, if I have this power, then teach me how to use it." She held out her hand, palm up. "And yes, The blood ward. Whatever it takes. Something fierce and possessive flashed across Damon's features before he locked it down. It'll hurt. Everything about this hurts, she said. Do it. They sent Marcus away and locked the door. Aldrich arrived with a wooden case that looked older than the estate itself. Silver instruments that gleamed in firelight. A blood ward hasn't been performed in this pack for 3 generations, Aldrich said quietly. It's not to be undertaken lightly. I understand. The elder prepared the ritual. Salt in a circle, candles at cardinal points, words in a language that predated English. Damon knelt across from her in the circle's center. He held out his hand. She placed hers in it. The touch sent electricity up her arm. The ward requires an exchange, Aldrich explained. Blood to blood, spoken truth to spoken truth. Damon took the silver knife and drew it across his palm without hesitation. Blood welled dark and red. He pressed his hand to her collarbone, directly over her scar. Heat bloomed beneath his touch, spreading through her chest like wildfire. I bind my protection to Iris Ashford. Damon's voice dropped to a resonant tone. What threatens her threatens me. By blood and bond, I claim her safety as my own. The heat intensified until she gasped. She felt him then, not just his hand, but his presence inside the bond. Vast and fierce and utterly focused on her. Now you, Aldrich handed her the knife. Her hand shook as she cut her palm. The pain was sharp, grounding. She pressed her bloody hand over Damon's heart. His breath hitched. I accept this binding, she said, surprised by the strength in her voice. And offer my own in return. What threatens you, threatens me. She faltered. The next words felt too big, too permanent. Damon's free hand covered hers, pressing it harder against his chest. She could feel his heartbeat, rapid and strong. It's all right, he murmured. Say it. You can hate me and still want me alive. The understanding broke something loose. I claim your safety as my own, she finished. The bond exploded between them. Iris cried out as power surged through every nerve. She felt Damon's wolf rise, not separate from him, but woven through his being. Felt his strength and scars, his love and guilt, the crushing weight of leadership. And beneath it all, his absolute unwavering devotion to her. When the power receded, she found herself collapsed against his chest, his arms wrapped around her. It's done, Aldrich said softly. Outside, a wolf howled in challenge. The 7-day countdown had begun. The trap training was brutal. Damon recruited 3 young pack members to act as practice targets. The goal, make them submit without rendering them immobile. Control, not domination. For the first hour, Iris either did nothing or accidentally dropped all 3 into groveling submission so complete they couldn't move. You're thinking of it like a blunt instrument, Damon said, circling her. But Luna authority is surgical. Feel the bond between us. How it exists without effort. That's what you need with them. She closed her eyes and reached for that sensation. The bond thrumming. Alive. Effortless. She extended the same awareness toward the 3 wolves, finding faint threads connecting her to each. Pack bonds. She focused on the smallest thread and thought, sit. The teenager's legs folded beneath him, but his expression stayed alert. Good. Damon's voice came from behind her, his breath warm on her neck. Again. They worked until lunch, until she could reliably command simple actions. By the time they broke, exhaustion dragged at her bones. You did well, Damon said, sitting beside her on a stone bench. Better than most. Does she know? Iris asked. Victoria, that the ceremony's postponed? His expression shuddered. She's been informed. She's not pleased. Before she could respond, Marcus burst into the clearing, face pale. We found something in the western woods, a shrine, and a ritual circle. Someone's performing blood magic on packlands. Damon was on his feet instantly. Show me. The shrine sat in a hollow where sunlight struggled to penetrate. Iris felt it before she saw it, wrongness that made her skin crawl. The circle had been carved into earth itself, symbols that hurt to look at. At its center sat a crude altar of river stones. And on that altar... Is that blood? Her voice came out thin. Wolf blood, Aldrich said gravely, mixed with something else, something human. Damon crouched at the circle's edge. How recent? Within the last day. What does it do? Marcus asked. The elder's silence, stretched too long. Aldrich, Damon's voice carried command. What does it do? It's a severing ritual, designed to break a bond between mates permanently. The words hit like a physical blow. The blood ward flared hot beneath her skin. Damon stood slowly, expression carefully blank. But she felt his rage through the bond, cold, controlled, lethal. Someone's trying to break our bond. Not trying. Preparing. Aldrich gestured to incomplete symbols. This is only the first stage. The ritual requires 3 nights. Tonight would be the second. Then we destroy it. Marcus moved forward. No. Aldrich caught his arm. Disturbing incomplete blood magic would be catastrophic. The magic would lash out, likely killing everyone within a mile radius. So we just leave it? Panic edged Iris's voice. We set a watch, Damon said. Whoever's casting has to return tonight. We'll be waiting. That evening, as dusk fell, Damon came to walk her to the hollow. He'd changed into dark clothes that would blend with shadows. At the clearing's edge, he stopped. I'll be 20 yards north, behind the fallen oak. His hand lifted, hovering near her face. If anything feels wrong, anything, you call through the bond. I'm terrified. I know. His thumb brushed her cheek. I can feel it, but I also feel your determination. You're not the same woman who left 4 years ago. Neither are you. Losing you changed me. The admission came out raw. I won't survive it twice. Before she could respond, he melted into shadows, and she was alone. Minutes stretched, an hour. The moon rose, painting everything silver. Then she felt it, another presence, something that moved wrong. The bond flared in warning. A figure stepped into the clearing, hooded, carrying a leather satchel. They moved to the altar with practiced ease. When they pushed back their hood, Iris's breath stopped. Victoria. The woman who should have been Damon's Luna knelt before the blood-stained altar and began to chant in that same guttural language. You can't have him, Victoria whispered, pulling a silver knife. He was promised to me. She drew the blade across her palm. The ritual circle began to glow. The blood ward screamed through Iris's entire body. Damon exploded from shadows, moving with inhuman speed. But Victoria was faster than she should have been. She slammed her bleeding palm against the altar. The ritual circle ignited. Pain lanced through Iris's chest. White-hot, devastating. She felt the bond stretching, fraying as dark magic tore at threads connecting her to Damon. She collapsed, gasping. Through agony, she felt his answering scream echo through their connection. Stop! Damon's voice came out as a command that would have dropped any wolf. But Victoria only laughed, her eyes gone black. I completed the second binding. Your precious bond is dying. Iris tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't cooperate. The bond thrashed inside her chest like a dying animal, each pulse weaker. Through the dimming connection, she felt Damon's rage and terror. He couldn't reach Victoria. Not without crossing the active circle, which would kill him instantly. Why? The word tore from him. You knew what she was to me. I knew you'd never love me. Victoria's composure cracked. revealing raw desperation. Every time you looked at me, you saw her. She pressed her palm harder against the altar. Iris screamed as another wave of severing magic crashed through the bond. "Who gave you this magic?" Damon snarled. But Victoria was chanting again, building intensity. Blood poured from her hand, far more than any cut should produce. Iris felt the bond unraveling strand by strand. In desperation, she reached for the Luna power that had manifested during the attack. The power rose, but sluggish, weakened. Not enough. I'm not strong enough. Then Aldrich's voice cut through the clearing. "Victoria Northwood, you are in violation of the old laws. Cease this ritual immediately, or face judgment." The elder stepped into view, flanked by Marcus and 3 enforcers. Victoria only smiled, blood streaming down her arm. "The old laws are dead. A new age is coming." Her eyes found Iris. "Starting with her death." She pulled a second knife, aimed at Iris. Damon moved without thinking, launching himself across the ritual circle despite certain death. But before he could reach Victoria, before her blade could find Iris's heart, something impossible happened. The bond, that fraying, dying connection, suddenly blazed to life. Not with warmth, with fire. Iris felt it surge through her veins, hotter and brighter than anything she'd experienced. This wasn't gentle authority. This was primal, ancient. The kind of power that existed before pacts, before civilization. The word that left her lips wasn't English. Wasn't any language she'd learned. But every wolf understood. "Kneel." The command detonated outward like a shockwave. Victoria's legs buckled mid-strike, slamming her to the ground so hard Iris heard bone crack. The knife flew from her grip. Marcus and the enforcers dropped instantly. Even Aldrich sank to one knee. Only Damon remained standing, suspended mid-leap. The dark magic couldn't touch him. The Luna power had created a shield of pure authority that burned away Victoria's curse like morning fog. He landed in a crouch, shocked eyes finding hers. Through the bond now burning brilliant and unbreakable, she felt his awe. "Impossible!" Victoria gasped from the ground. "The ritual should have—" "You tried to sever a bond forged in blood and choice 8 years ago," Iris said, rising on shaking legs. The power still crackled through her. "Did you really think borrowed magic could undo fate itself?" Aldrich struggled to his feet, expression stunned. The strength required to counter a severing ritual shouldn't be possible for a new Luna. "She's not a new Luna," Damon said quietly. "She's been mine for 8 years. The bond's been dormant, but building. That's why the throne recognized her." He crossed to her in 3 strides and caught her as her legs gave out. The moment he touched her, the bond settled, the fire banking to a warm, steady glow. "I've got you," he murmured against her hair. For the first time in 4 years, she let herself believe it. Epilogue. The coronation. 3 days later, the coronation was nothing like the disaster that had preceded it. The throne room filled with pack members who'd chosen to be there. Victoria had testified against her father, revealed every detail of his plans, his corrupted magic, his decades of manipulation. In exchange, the council had granted her sanctuary in neutral territory. Before she left, she'd found Iris in the garden. "I don't expect forgiveness," Victoria had said quietly. "No." Iris had surprised herself with the truth. It was understandable. Not right, but understandable. Love makes us desperate. "He never loved me," Victoria said without bitterness. "And I knew it. Take care of him." Now, standing before the throne with the entire pack watching, Iris felt that strength settle into her bones. Aldrich stepped forward, carrying the crown. "Iris Ashford," his voice rang through the hall. "Do you accept the responsibility of Luna? To lead alongside your alpha? To protect the pack as your own?" "I do." The words came easily now. Damon Ravencrest, do you accept Iris as your mate, your Luna, your equal in all things? Damon's eyes never left hers. I do. Now and always. The throne room erupted in howls, joyous, celebratory, accepting. Later, in a quiet corner of the garden where night-blooming jasmine filled the air, Damon pulled her close. Regrets? He asked softly. She pretended to consider. The broken ribs weren't ideal. His lips found her temple. Anything else? 4 years, she said quietly. I regret we lost 4 years. I'll spend the rest of my life making up for that. She pulled back to meet his eyes. How about forever? Forever's a good start. He kissed her then, deep, thorough, full of promises they'd both keep this time. When they finally broke apart, Iris rested her head against his chest and listened to his heartbeat. Through the bond, she felt his contentment, his love, his bone-deep relief. About those 7 days, she smiled against his shirt. Whoever sent that threat really underestimated us. His laugh rumbled through his chest. Let them all underestimate us. We'll just keep proving them wrong, sis. In the distance, wolves sang to the rising moon. Her pack, her family, her future. And for the first time in 4 years, Iris was exactly where she belonged. Home.